So, you know, that's only one shot. It doesn't make up 72 holes of golf.
Now, can I ask you, this score of Calcavecchia's, did you think anybody would shoot 19, 20 under par this week?
No, I didn't. I thought somewhere about 12 because normally at this time of the year you get a couple of nor'easters, which makes the back nine very difficult. But, you know, we've had all types of wind this week and, you know, that's just a fantastic score.
It is, isn't it? We'll just watch David Graham coming out of one of these awesome pots on the 17th here, Roger. Oh. And our commentators keep saying he's one of the 2 or 3 best of all time out of the pots, and he keeps proving it. He's had a good tournament, isn't he?
It's really good to see him starting to play well again. You know, he showed it last week. He's just starting to get it back, and you know, it's great when he dropped a couple of shots earlier today to make 3 or 4 birdies and get it all back to finish up to 10 under. It's great to see him, although, you know, he never stops fighting, the old dog.
That's right. Last thing I want to ask you is the World Cup situation. Are you on standby? Because we understand Roger Mackay might be a last-minute withdrawal because his wife's giving birth. Do you know anything? Can you enlighten us on that situation?
Well, after all the hassles about the World Cup, I don't know where I am. All I know is that I was number 3 on the Australian Order of Merit last year. The first 2 get automatic selection. And so at this stage, I'm playing in the Airlines Classic in New Zealand.
Right.
Now, I haven't heard of any injury. I heard at one stage overseas that both Peter Senior and Roger Mackay were having back operations and they weren't playing. Then at another stage, the Greg Norman was playing and all this. So I really don't know what's going on with that tournament.
OK, Roger, thanks for your time. We'll just watch Wayne Grady here on the 17th. That was for a birdie, and that sums up Wayne's day today. He just couldn't buy a birdie anywhere. And anyhow, well, if Roger Mackay has to go and give birth, we might see you in 2 weeks' time.
Well, Royal Melbourne's a great course. And, of course, playing for your country's superb.
Good on you. Thank you very much for your time, Roger Davis, and I hope 89's a bit kinder to you.
Thank you.
Now Wayne Grady not making that birdie putt. Making par at 17 and remaining 11 under in 3rd position, 1 behind McCumber.
And there he is hitting his 2nd shot to the 16th hole, Mark McCumber. And, well, just half a dozen paces short of the green. That's the shot he has left. Should get birdie from there. Ian Grady having a battle royal for 2nd place. David Graham, of course, with 1 hole to play, 10 under. And Ronan Rafferty in the clubhouse, 10 under. But there's no doubts who's going to win the championship. This man.
Not one of his best shots.
What a fantastic charge this has been from David Graham, with birdies at 13, 14, 15, 16, and he almost made a miraculous birdie at 17. Has to settle for par. He's 10 under, tied for 4th with Ronan Rafferty. But it's Mark Calcavecchia way out in front, leading by 7. Mark McCumber has a 1-shot hold on 2nd place ahead of Grady. There's 1 shot to the good of Graham and Rafferty, who's now in the clubhouse. So still a fight for 2nd and 3rd. Then Davis and Norman, who have both completed their 4 rounds. And the 3 young Aussies, Gilligan, Ogle and Warren, who shared 8th position at 6 under par.
So Calcavecchia is still going strong, and I think if my calculations are correct, if he can pick up 1 more birdie, he'll have the 2nd lowest winning total ever in an Australian Open, behind Gary Player's 264 at Kooyonga back in 1965. And another convincing winner today in a major golf championship, the Victorian Women's Open down at Commonwealth in Melbourne, where Helen Hopkins has won with a 3 under par total, winning by 6 shots from Karen Lunn. In 3rd place was Louise Mullard at +4, Marjorie Jones at +5, Sue Tonkin at +7, and Louise Bryers was the leading amateur at 8 over par. Just checking the 2 Shield scores. WA are 7 for 100 in their 2nd innings. Andrews 21 not out. Scuderi has taken 4 for 34. Tassie had taken 1st innings points against New South Wales at 6 for 228. And we can take you back now to the 18th tee where David Graham is driving.
Yes, and he's got the 3 wood out. You can see he's got the ball teed quite lowly. And the breeze pushing the golf balls away from the dog leg. He'll just try and put it down the right, which he has. And there's the hole bending to the left. Let's have a look at David Graham's swing. Stands a long way from the ball, good posture, great shoulder turn, club a little bit on the inside, and there's where David Graham now does get into trouble. He doesn't quite get back to his left side as well as he used to. Wayne Grady.
Oh, good drive, Wayne.
Driving the 18th, and that's a beautiful tee shot. He shaped that right round the corner, which bends to the left at around about the 200-metre mark.
Now, Calcavecchia, what's happened here? Just coming out to mark his ball. No. Oh, he's still in the bunker.
He's made a few birdies this week.
Yeah. And 1 eagle. That was yesterday at this hole where he pitched into the hole from about 25 metres. But now he's in sand. And, well, he went to the green to take a look at it. Perhaps he's lining it up to hole out.
I think it may be Mark McCumber to play first in front of the green, Pete.
Yes, that's a fact. Well, you suggested he should get a 4 from there.
Yeah, it's just a little bump and a run, bump and run shot, I think, with probably an 8 or a 9 iron. Get the ball on the ground, chasing up towards the hole.
I think we'll have to give him that.
Beautiful shot. Classic example there that you don't need to play the sand iron from those type of positions. You can use the 9 iron or the wedge and just shut the face down, get the ball on the green, chasing towards the cup with as much room as he had to work with there. Now, we've seen this fella play some miracle shots around the green this week. I refer to Calcavecchia, of course. We'll see how he does with this one. He's in the furthest of the 2 bunkers. Come across 1 bunker, and then it's all downhill to the hole.
Oh.
Well, he's left it in the bunker immediately in front of him. He'd be disappointed with that. Try to get a bit too cute with it. I suppose when you've got a 7-shot lead, Peter, you can afford to get cute with that bunker shot, can't you?
Well, I think it was part of his aggression, Jack. He was really trying to get close to the cup, wasn't he? Whereas he could have blasted right across the other side of the green, quite simply. Well, it looks as though he'd get away with a par. Chat with his caddy there as he comes out. I suppose they don't have to really leave the bunker in perfect condition. There's nobody behind them. Now Gilligan will putt. Nice holeable putt he has here. This should be fairly straight and going uphill a bit. Can afford to give it a wrap.
Right, David Graham now about to play his 2nd shot to the final hole, and a bit of money at stake here if he could get this near. He's got 130 metres to the front, and I can tell you that the pin is on 20, so It's on 30, excuse me. So around about 160 metres to go. But down breeze doesn't play anything like that. 7 iron for David Graham. Beauty.
Well, isn't he finishing this championship with style?
So a downhill birdie putt for David Graham at the final hole. He's 10 under and a tie for 4th at the moment. His playing partner Wayne Grady.
MCCUMBER down there on his haunches. But it's Grady's turn. Now he played a very cheeky drive round the corner at this final hole. So he's very near the green. Can't be more than 100 metres, 110. Astray.
I think the picture tells the story. Pretty frustrated Wayne Grady after those 2 fantastic opening rounds of 68-65 to lead. The 72 yesterday to be 11 under, and it looks very much like he's going to shoot that same score again today.
Camera lady's gone. He can't hurt her today. She's over there today.
Well, he's still full of good humour. In 2nd place by 1, and well, Grady has a long putt at the 18th to improve on 11. And here he has a very short putt to improve his score. Oh, only just in.
MCCUMBER gets to 13 under par, the closest anyone's been to Calcavecchia for a long time. And he has a stranglehold now on 2nd.
And this is for his par.
And goes to the last tee, 19 under par, headed for a 4-round total of 269. As Charles Slade mentioned, if he could birdie the last, it would be the 2nd lowest score in Australian Open Championship history.
2 more to play.
2 to play. So he's got twice as good a chance. Big gap between the last 2 groups. Brady and Graham in the 2nd last group are on the last green. Calcavecchia, MCCUMBER and Gilligan at the 17th tee.
Yeah, Grady and Mark James are both very quick players, Tim. Neither of them take too much time to get ready. Grady putting for a birdie at the final hole. He's 11 under. This putt for a round of 71 to go with his earlier rounds of 68, 65 and 72. Get in.
It's a good one. Oh, it's a beauty.
So Wayne Grady finishes with a rush. 71 today. Rounds of 68, 65, 72 and 71. And a 4-round total of 276. 12 under par. And he now is in outright 3rd position.
1 ahead of this man, 1 behind this man, who has to play this difficult hole. Well, you call that safely left. It's not on the green. Now, leader. Will he have a shot at the flag, or will he pull it over to the left side? Well, that's safety first.
Now David Graham with this for a 71, and to finish with 5 birdies in 6 holes. Says he choked. Well, he shouldn't be too hard on himself because he's finished brilliantly. David Graham, 10 under par, sharing 4th position. 70 today, 71 today. Rounds of 69, 70, 68, 71.
Great tournament for David Graham because, as Roger Davis said earlier, he hasn't been in the best of form, and he's played consistently well all week here.
So Mark James makes a birdie at the last to finish 5 under par in 11th position. He had a 75 in the final round. David Graham in the foreground won the Australian Open at the Australian Golf Club in 1977. Was 3rd to Peter Fowler and Ian Baker Finch in 1983, and shares 4th here with Ronan Rafferty.
So just 3 players on the course. 2 of them missed the green on their left side, but they have rather easy, uncomplicated little chip and runs up to the cup. Gilligan I see marching down there as well, so he's off to the left.
A few more of the completed scores, and they're all complete bar 3. Ian Woosnam certainly having a good second half of the championship to finish 2 under. Terry Gale not so good today after 3 pretty good days. Gordon Brand Jr. finishing 3 under, up in the top 14. Greg Norman and Craig Warren playing very well today, both up in the top 10. Rafferty shares 4th, and Roger Davis sharing 6th position with Norman. And Grady has to see what Mark McCumber does over the last 2 holes to have his ultimate fate determined.
And really, I suppose, Tim, the significance of Grady's score is probably at the start of the week. That was around about the score that I thought would win. A lot depending, of course, on the weather. And without Mark Calcavecchia, it would have been quite an exciting finish, but he's just played so well, and every time he's been in trouble, he's managed to get it up and down, chipped in a few times, putted extremely well, and there's nobody alive that could shoot 19 under around here this week. Or I don't think there's anyone that can beat that score this week. Anthony Gilligan, who's dropped a couple of shots here over the concluding stages, and there's a lot of money at stake for him. Needs to get a couple of pars or something a bit better to finish with. Fine recovery at the 17th for this very talented young man.
Now the leader. Well, very seldom has he failed to get down in 2 from just outside the green. At That's been his strength this week. And here it is again. He's been very, very good at that shot.
An important shot for McCumber and for Wayne Grady. McCumber 13 under, Grady 12 under in the clubhouse.
He's got a fair bit of green to work with, so he'll just play this with well, perhaps a 9 iron. Big swing from his left to right. Oh, beautiful shot.
Well, let's hope Gilligan can hold this. Just that tantalizing length. Sort of length that, well, these players should get. And yet it's so easily missed. Especially at a time like this. There must be some tension on him in these closing moments.
Now this group still with a hole to play after this, so the championship continuing beyond 6 o'clock, and ABC News will follow immediately. The last putt has fallen into the 18th hole. That will be, one would imagine, shortly after 10 past 6 local time.
Now this putt should be directed into the right half of the cup. I guess he's figured that out. Oh dear. A little more oomph would have got it in.
And Gilligan falls out of the top 10. He was tied for 8th with Brett Ogle and Craig Warren. He's now tied, in fact, for 10th with Mark James.
Should be just a formality for this fella, the way he's putted all week, although the last time I said that he missed one. Straight up the hill.
Automatic, Jack. Beautiful putting stroke, very positive.
Yeah, I think the word that best describes Calcavecchia's golf game is freewheeling. He really looks like everything he does is, there doesn't appear to be any tension. He just makes his mind up to play the shot. Takes very little time and bang. And, good seeing this week, certainly it's very effective.
Now this putt means, of course, a lot of money. He has his nose in front for second place and the prize that goes with that. And of course he's entitled to take as long as he wants, within reason.
So McCumber remains 13 under, 1 ahead of Wayne Grady in second position, as he, Calcavecchia and Gilligan walk to the last. And down with Charles Slade is one of Australia's finest, equal fourth at this year's Australian Open Championship with rounds of 69, 70, 68 and 71. The 1977 champion, David Graham.
Thank you, Tim. And David, you must be delighted. You had a bit of a rocky road there today, but you were able to shoot quite a few birdies this week.
Well, I was happy, Tim, Charles, the way I came back to back 9, shot 32, but I'm afraid I did a lot of damage on the front 9 with 3 over par.
Now, can I ask you, firstly, Wayne Grady, Jack Newton was suggesting today his putting looked very tentative. Did it strike you that way playing with him?
Well, he made a few putts coming in, and as you saw, he made a nice putt at the 18th hole, and he made another good putt at birdie at 16. He was a little unfortunate in getting off to what I would call a slow start. He had about a 4-foot birdie putt at number 1 that he should have made and missed it. And then he missed another 6 or 7 footer for a birdie at the 2nd hole. And I think had he made those 2 putts early and got some momentum going, I think he may have shot another very good round. He's driving the ball exceptionally well. He's playing very well. His concentration's good. I think he'll do very well next week.
And the final thing I might ask you, David, is Mark Calcavecchia. He's only 28 years old. He's certainly an exciting player. Is he a man who could go to the top and stay there?
Well, he's a player. It's very difficult to get to the top and stay there in the United States now because of the depth of the quality of player. But if you look at the last 2 years that he's had on the American Tour, obviously he's an exceptionally good player. And a player that's going to play. This is Mark O'Meara driving at 18.
Mark MCCUMBER, the cucumber.
I mean Mark MCCUMBER.
Who's been a very genial gentleman towards ABC television this week. Looks like he's lost that. No, he hasn't. He's in a good position there on the 18th. Now, David, earlier in the week, on a Thursday, I think I said, would you pick yourself as one of the 10 names to win a tournament like this? You confidently said yes, and you proved yourself right by coming in 4th.
Well, as I said, I shot 39 on the front 9 today, which was really poor golf. And the first 2 days, I didn't feel like I putted very well. The last 2 days, I putted exceptionally well. Tournament leader, Mark Calcavecchia, 19 under. I bet the members didn't think they'd shoot that low.
Well, I was just asking that. I don't think anybody was expecting a score of 19 or 20 under around this course this week.
Well, what it shows is the quality of the condition of the golf course. The fairways have been excellent all week. I think the scoring's been more lower than I think because there hasn't been much rough. There have been a lot of birdies made from shots 5 or 6 feet out of the fairway. But it's a compliment to the golf course. When you've got, you know, the best players in the world playing, and you see these low scores, it's a reflection of the golf course. It's in superb condition.
So I believe you're playing in the Bicentennial next week. You're hoping to go to Royal Melbourne and give it a bit of a kick.
Well, I'm certainly going to go to Royal Melbourne with a lot more confidence than I had before this week. We all like Royal Melbourne. We all know it'll be in very good condition. I'm happy to be playing, and I'm looking forward to it. As long as the greens aren't too fast, we'll be okay.
David Graham, well done, and good luck next week, and thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Charles.
So the last group wends its way up the 18th fairway, and another Australian Open Championship is just about over. Calcavecchia set to become the 3rd American to win in the 1980s. Tom Watson winning in 1984 and Bill Rogers back in 81.
Well, let's look at this 18th from the air. As you see, there's a sharp turn to the left down around the 240-meter mark. Now, that copse of trees on the left side was once a swamp which was filled, and then those trees were planted by the club in the, I think, the early 1900s, and you see to what height they've grown. Well, that makes the hole. You've got to bend around there and then up onto the green, rather large green with a big step, 2 level, and the flag today up on the higher level at the back.
Tremendous crowds at Royal Sydney on the first 2 days in particular, when on the weekdays we didn't really expect the people to come flocking in. The rains and the threat of rains and thunderstorms today perhaps keeping a few away. Terrific thunderstorm in the early hours of the morning, delaying play today. As Peter has mentioned, we're a little lucky to get through. Mark MCCUMBER having a very good back 9 today. Birdies on 3 holes. And he is 3 under for the day, having commenced 10 under par. He's now 13 under. Calcavecchia was 16 under at the outset. 3 birdies and a bogey going out in 34. 2 birdies and a bogey on the back half, and he's now at the 18th.
there they are, side by side. Now they're reading their booklet of well, the map of each hole, indicating the distance from each feature, like a tree or a sprinkler head. One of the reasons I think they score so low these days, there's never any doubt about how far they are in meterage to the cup. It's all measured for them. All they have to do is take the appropriate club and hit it cleanly.
Well, there's a shot from behind at what the player sees. What a great backdrop that is. The huge clubhouse, big crowds hanging off the balcony and right up the fairway and around the back of the green. So everything's set now for Mark McCumber to play his second shot. He's got around about 130 metres to go. And I think this is just a good solid 8-iron for him. Pin, remember, in the back left. Customary left to right shot. And fails to negotiate the tier that Peter Thompson was talking about. Pitched right up the top of it and then sucked back down the hill, leaving himself with a very awkward putt. Must negotiate the tier now with his putt for birdie. There it is, just 3 or 4 paces in front of his golf ball. Now the leader, Calcavecchia. He also brings it left to right, so he'll start left of the hole, and I wonder if he can do what he did yesterday. Almost identical position to that of Wayne Grady just a couple of groups ago, and of course we saw Grady hole that putt, so I wonder if the same fate's in store for this man, Calcavecchia, who's the leader by 6. An important shot for Anthony Gilligan because, as Tim Lane said, he's now dropped back to joint 10th. At one stage he had headed up to about joint 4th or 5th, wasn't it, Tim? And a couple of bogeys has seen a bit of money disappear. I wonder if he can get a birdie at the final hole.
That's it.
That was rather unlucky, Jack, wasn't it?
A little bit unfortunate, yes. He had had a putt of only about 5 metres at one stage for a birdie. As you saw, sucking back down the hill. And he'll do well now to 2-putt. I think we should congratulate the Australian Golf Union on a very successful Australian Open, and Tui and Allen, who have organised this. It's been a great championship.
And once again, a very fine winner. Runner-up in the US Masters this year. And Mark Calcavecchia is certainly going to be Australian Open champion of 1988.
Been a very popular figure here this week, Tim. I think people like the way he plays and they've liked his attitude to everybody, and this will be a big boost for him because, in fact, you know, he's only won 2 tournaments in the United States. He's been a prolific money winner, but not been a winner. And I remember one of my old mates, Ed Sneed, coming out here having not won in the United States for something like 13 seasons, came out here, won the New South Wales Open and went straight back to the United States and won the following week. So even though this on a different continent, the win for Calcavecchia could be a great stepping stone in his career.
Well, now some putting to be done yet, and each one a long way off. The 2 on the lower level, they must really putt well to get down in 2. Well, it's worth a double check. Look around behind the cup and look back to the ball.
Well, for McCumber, Peter, 37,800 for second, 24,150 for third. So it'll cost him $6,500 if he three putts this.
Well, all the reason why he should take a lot of care. Well,
just before the putting starts, another reminder that ABC television news, it states due to take it at 6 o'clock, is coming up as soon as the last putt drops into the hole. Of course, in Western Australia, your news is a couple of hours away yet, and likewise in one or two other states you're not ready for it yet, but in those states where it is coming up as soon as the golf ends, you'll get your news bulletin.
well, this would be a putt of at least 10 metres, and he's got to go up that step. Up it comes, headed for the cup. Oh, nearly a perfect putt. Well, that locks up second place.
He's been a very popular figure here too this week, Mark McCumber, the final round 69. 4-round total of 275, 13 under par, and he has taken second position at this Australian Open Championship. A birdie here for a share of 8th position for Anthony Gilligan. A par, and he's in a tie for 10th.
It's a good putt. Well done.
So a round of 75, 4-round total of 283, 5 under par, and Anthony Gilligan of New South Wales ties for 10th with Mark James of Great Britain.
Now the 28-year-old from North Palm Beach in Florida.
And this to finish 20 under par.
He's 6 feet tall and 200 pounds, Tim, so that's just a bit over 14 stone. He's a big boy. He's won over $1 million in the United States in the last 3 years, 3 seasons.
Mark Calcavecchia of the United States is Australian Open champion for 1988. Final round 69. 4-round total of 269, 19 under par, 67, 67, 66, and 69.
And a privilege to watch. We've got to go now. Hope you can join us in 10 days' time for the World Cup from Royal Melbourne. But for now, from the Sports Arena Golf team, it's good evening.
Now they're doing the
Thank you, folks.
presentation. Will we have to do
tournament victory. And a pretty happy man, Jack, and in fact a happy couple by the look of what we just saw out on the green.
Yes, well, it was his wife Cheryl, of course, there with him. He went to the University of Florida, a substantial university program they have over there, and it's a very strong university for its golf program. And it's been a tremendous performance. I mean, nobody thought that anyone would shoot this type of score. Of course, 19 under was the same score I shot here in the New South Wales Open, but the golf course has been changed, and many thought that the scoring wouldn't be anything like that good. But Mark Calcavecchia has just played sensational golf. 67, 67, 66, and 69. So he's broken 74 days.
Pipers of, appropriately enough, Scots College, performing at the presentation ceremony this Panasonic Australian Open. And Royal Sydney, a grand scene indeed.
Tim, there's some talk that the championship will come back here again in a couple of years' time. I think the Open, in fact, goes back to Melbourne next year, if I'm right in saying that. And perhaps we'll see a different type of championship. This week, really, the weather has been the key factor, as we all thought it may be, but with the rain that we've had all week, it's really softened up the green so the players can attack the flag. I think this golf course will play much more differently with firm greens and good stiff nor'easter to test the players out on the back nine.
And the Pipers being warmly received as they approach the 18th green. Where the crowd awaits the new champion, Mark Calcavecchia. As I said earlier, the third American to win the Australian Open in the 1980s. Bill Rogers won at Victoria Golf Club in 1981. And Tom Watson, successful at Royal Melbourne in 1984. Calcavecchia's 269. Best score since Jack Nicklaus shot that 4-round total at Royal Hobart in 1971. And the second best, or joint second best in Australian Open history, Gary Player having had a 264 at Kooyonga. That was in 1965.
Congratulations, wonderful. Thank you. And the sign right there, could I just borrow a stick? Oh, sorry.
The formalities and not so formalities being gone through before the new champion comes out to the presentation. It's a long autograph to sign, Jack.
The one autograph that he needed to get right was the one on his scorecard. Make sure he put one there, because we've seen mishaps before, and the famous one, of course, Roberto Di Vincenzo in the Masters back in about 1970. He failed to sign his card. In fact, I think the 9th hole score was written in as his 9-hole total. So very important that you go through the mundane formalities of checking the scorecard.
Ready to go on? Okay, let's go.
So it's America 1-2. this year's Australian Open.
Well, I don't know who's this. Leave it here and it's not
Mark
mine.
1 and Mark 2.
Chico went up.
Got an alphabet and a cucumber, 1 and 2.
And although that deprives the local golfers, it's been a pretty popular result. As you mentioned, Jack Calcavecchia, really a popular player here. And here he is,
Golf Club, Graham Crouch.
Jim Maxwell, the Master of Ceremonies at the official presentation.
President of the Australian Golf Union, Mr. Lionel Clark, Captain of Royal Sydney, Mr. Dawson, distinguished guests, members of the club, ladies and gentlemen. One of the pleasures of being president of this great club is that it does provide opportunities to welcome people, and I'm delighted this afternoon on behalf of the captain, Mr. Dawson, and all our members to be saying welcome to you. Past custom demands that my comments should be limited to the tradition of saying a thank you to a number of people. No major championship is possible without the complete cooperation of the players and all those people behind the scenes who have not only prepared the course, but have made it all happen within the clubhouse and throughout the many pavilions. Firstly, the players. At the championship dinner a few meetings ago, I commented then on the outstanding code of behaviour which the professional players of golf throughout the world have imposed on themselves, a standard of conduct which is an example for all sportsmen. We have seen it all again during the past 4 days. What a delight it is to note the exemplary behaviour of a top golfer, even though under strain. Those of us who follow golf closely are fortunate to watch players setting themselves such high standards of behaviour. The course as it was played in this tournament has changed considerably since the last Australian Open in 1969. We are grateful to Mr. Thompson and Mr. Woolbridge for their thoughtfulness and thoroughness in the planning of this course, and to our previous superintendent, Mr. Melville, who so meticulously carried out the reconstruction program as planned by them. Mr. Melville's work on his death has been carried on by our superintendent, John Odell, who with his staff have groomed the course to a state of perfection. I thank them all very much indeed and acknowledge on their behalf the many complimentary remarks I have received from the players on the marvellous state of the course. Royal Sydney has been buzzing for the last several days, and I do acknowledge with pride the Herculean efforts of the club staff, who have worked tirelessly looking after thousands of members and their guests, setting themselves an enormously high standard, for which as president I can only say to them, thank you for a good job, well done. I would also like to include the following in my thanks. Mr. Colin Phillips, the Executive Director of the AGU, Mr. Lionel Clark, the President, and those members of the AGU who have made up the various committees responsible for this tournament. The professional organisers, Tui Allen and Associates, with whom I, as a member of the organising committee, have been working closely after the last 18 months, and whose professionalism has shown through in the wonderful organisation of this tournament. The marshals, under Commander Jones, who have done a splendid job ensuring that the maximum number of people witnessed the play with a reasonable degree of comfort. Various committees of members who have worked in a variety of ways. The headmaster and his council at Cranbrook, who permitted parking on their playing areas. The headmaster of Scots College for allowing his magnificent band to play for us. Members of the Wallara Council, who cooperated fully and have been of great assistance. And finally you, the spectators and members of the public, who by your own conduct have greatly assisted all of us in ensuring a wonderful tournament. Championship golf inevitably brings out the best in people, and how true that has been demonstrated during the last 4 days and certainly this afternoon. On behalf of the captain, Mr. Dawson, and members of our club and the staff of Royal Sydney, I thank you all for a marvellous job. Well done.
Please welcome the President of the Australian Golf Union, Lionel Clark.
Thank you, Jim. The President of the Royal Sydney Golf Club, Mr. Graham Crouch, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Graham has told you all, so I'll have to be very brief. But I would like to take this opportunity of thanking you, Graham, and your committee for making the course available to us, and compliment the course staff for the magnificent job they've done in preparing the course and looking after it over the week. And I'd also like to add our thanks to the house staff who have made our stay here over the past week such a delightful stay. We thank you for that, Graham, and if you'd pass it on to your directors, we'd appreciate that. I would like to also thank Panasonic and their supporting sponsors for supporting this event. I'm quite sure that they'll be delighted and for the result of that, and I'm certain that Peter Benning, the representative of Panasonic, will be telling you all about it in a few moments. I'd also like to thank the ABC for the excellent coverage that they've given us over the last few days. We're sorry that they're not continuing on to the presentation, but I guess they'll pre-record it anyway. And I'd like to thank the media for the kind comments that they have made over the tournament, the way the tournament was run, and also the compliments that they've paid to the club and the golf course itself. It's been quite a treat to hear them say those sort of things. And I'd also like to thank Tui Allen and Associates for the support that they've given us over the years in promoting the Australian Open. We do thank you, Bob, on behalf of your association with the Golf Association. You've done a marvellous job, and we do thank you for that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we look forward next year, and I know it'll be difficult for a lot of you, but you're living in Sydney. Next year, 1989, we'll be playing the Australian Open at Kingston Heath in Melbourne. I'm sure you'll enjoy the tournament down there, and we look forward to seeing you down there. And then in 1990, we'll be back in Sydney at a course that we haven't determined on yet. But thank you for your support. It's a delight to see so many people come along and support this magnificent event on such a wonderful golf course, and we do thank you for that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, over the last 4 days, we've really enjoyed some brilliant golf in this Panasonic Australian Open. So from Panasonic, welcome Peter Benning.
Lionel Clark, Graham Crouch, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 5th consecutive Panasonic Australian Open, and they just seem to get better every year. And Graham, I can say that this year because you and your committee have worked so hard on behalf of this event. And just looking at the ladies at the back there, they look resplendent. Thank you, ladies. That's really nice. I know names have been mentioned, but on behalf of the Panasonic company, our thanks to Lionel Clark, Colin Phillips of the Australian Golf Union, to the Tui Allen and Associates, our tournament directors, to David Salter, ABC Television, and of course to our fellow sponsors, and I don't believe it's been mentioned yet, to the players that came here this week. Not only our local players, but the international players that have joined us. We thank you very much for coming to our shores and being a part of this event. It was 19 years ago that the Australian Open was here at the Royal Sydney, and a very great player won in that year, Gary Player. And in the tradition of the Open and the Royal Sydney Golf Club, there's a new champion, a very deserving one, in the name of Mark Calcavecchia. Mark, it's my very great pleasure, not only on behalf of the Panasonic Company, but everyone assembled here, to ask you to come forward and to accept the Australian Panasonic Open Trophy. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Calcavecchia. Well done, Mark. Congratulations and well done.
Mark, on behalf of the Australian Golf Union, it's my very great pleasure to present to you also the Australian Golf Union Cup for the Australian Open. And may I congratulate you on a wonderful round.
Thank you, sir.
And there's a medal worth $1,000 in there. You can get that later.
There's one more trophy, Mark, and Graham Crouch, the president of the Royal Sydney Golf Club, will present it to you. Graham.
Mark Calcavecchia, congratulations. A superb exhibition of golf. On behalf of the members of the Royal Sydney Golf Club, I would like to present this trophy to you as the Australian Open champion golfer of 1988, and the members of Royal Sydney as a memento to our club in our bicentennial year. Congratulations, and thank you very much. Well done.
I'd just like to say a few things. I'm glad the president's thanked everybody already. There's so many people to cover when it comes down to an event like this, the sponsors and all the volunteers and the great ladies and gentlemen that drove us back and forth to our hotels. So many people did a lot of great work for this golf tournament, and it's just it's a great thrill to come over here and play like I did. I had a lot of pride in coming over here, and it was a great field in this year's tournament. And to be the champion of the Australian Open, that just has a great ring to it. A national championship of a country. That's a tremendous thrill for me, and I look forward to coming back next year, and I'll be there, giving it all I've got. So. Thank you. And I just got to say how much I enjoyed the city of Sydney. We saw a lot of nice things and ate in some great places. And I played in the Pro-Am with Mr. Crouch, and I didn't know he was the president of the club. And he asked me on the 8th hole what I thought of the golf course, and luckily I loved it. I can just imagine if I wouldn't have liked it. So, and I met on the 9th hole I met the greenskeeper, John Odell, I believe is his name, and it just took me 8 holes to realize what a fantastic condition this golf course was in. And when it's this nice, it's just a tremendous joy to play. And I know all the other players feel the same way. So it's a great day for me, and I appreciate all the support that you gave me this week. And y'all are some of the best crowds that we've ever played in front of. So thank you very much.
Mark, please don't go away. The silver and the crystal's very nice, but this is the important one, the appropriate check. Okay. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We met some other very nice people.
To pronounce, but he'll hard forget after his phenomenal performance this week. Let's just hope that he returns next year to defend his title at Kingston Heath. As the final leaderboard shows,
Okay, stand by.
you got over.
Stand by. Okay, call for tape to record. Thanks for recording.
Well, Mark Calcavecchia, it may be a hard name to learn to pronounce, but it's a name it'll be hard to forget after his absolutely phenomenal performance this week. And let's all hope he can return to defend his title next year in the Australian Open at Kingston Heath. On the final leaderboard, he got home very comfortably by 6 shots with one of the lowest total scores in the history of this distinguished championship. And the amiable American Mark McCumber finished second at 13 under par. The unlucky Wayne Grady was third at 12 under. David Graham ending up equal fourth at 10 under with Ronan Rafferty. Then we have Roger Davis and Greg Norman equal at 7 under the card, with Brett Ogle and Craig Warren, 2 young Australians, doing well at 6 under, and another young Australian, Anthony Gilligan, perhaps a disappointing finish for him at 5 under the card. I hope you can join us again here on ABC Television in a couple of weeks' time for the World Cup from Royal Melbourne. But right now, let's return you to see Mark Calcavecchia getting the just rewards for his outstanding performance at Royal Sydney Golf Club this week in the 1988 Panasonic Australian Open. Good evening.
Thanks, just give us a tape.